Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast where we boldly go into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and I'm ready to look at the seams in this bunny suit. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to have you back. I know you got a hard out, so we're going to get right into it today, but we have to stop first and find out, how was the Taylor concert?
It was amazing. It was mind-blowing. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
She, whether or not, you're a Taylor Swift fan, she puts on an amazing concert.
That's
like,
right.
she's not lady to get on stage and sing a bunch of songs in a row. She plays for 3.5 hours. She has, costume changes. Every time she has a costume change, the backup dancers have a costume change. There's 16 backup dancers. It was big. It was amazing.
She leaves it all out there.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah, and I know she did 2 shows here, and she's got a new album coming out soon. I don't know why I'm doing press for her, but
she's got a re-recording coming out soon.
Yeah, her recordings, her albums, her albums.
Yeah, very exciting.
So, I don't know, guest star on Star Trek someday?
I wish she would. Be better than Cats.
I think that, yeah, that's true. I think that more than ever, and plus Star Trek will take anybody. So I know that she's wanted to act for a while. We'll take her. I think
she should play, when Bo Burnham played a young pop star in Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
I think she should play a famous intergalactic pop star in Star Trek.
Yeah, and Spock could back her up on the lute. She could sing a duet with Uhura. Yeah, I think that
exactly.
I think we got some good synergy going on.
We can make this happen.
So let's see that happen. I think it's a good idea because I think Paramount can use all the help it can get. Let's talk about the news in Star Trek really fast. And there's only one news story that we're going to talk about, and that story is that Star Trek Prodigy has been canceled by Paramount. Its second season has been ungreenlit, and the show has been removed from Paramount Plus. Some sobering news from the world of Star Trek.
It's removed, all the first season isn't streaming on.
You can't watch it. You can't watch it on Paramount Plus.
That's crazy.
They Batgirled it.
Yeah, they Batgirled it.
They Batgirled it.
Why? What's the advantage of taking it off of the streaming service, though?
Not having to pay the people who get paid when it streams. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tax write-off. So
interesting.
I think we're all, as the 21st century continues to dawn, I think we're all learning what capitalism really can't do for us. And more and more, I think we see that in the social element of our lives, in the cultural element of our lives. And we see that in our entertainment too. And with a progressive form of entertainment like Star Trek, you see both of those things, and it's all well and good for Star Trek to say that they, want to see diverse voices in their shows and they support the diverse people who like their shows, but it's all a bottom line for a company, and it'll always be a bottom line for a company. And so it's just really unfortunate that, a show that has such broad appeal, that is really courting the next generation of Star Trek fans, finds itself cut off like this. Especially when, with the sundowning of Picard, no pun intended, and with the ending of Discovery, you got 2 shows on. So it's how much money are you really saving? Although I've been looking around and, all financial advice and speculation is just that, speculation. But a lot of people think that Paramount is getting ready. They're getting down to dating weight because they're looking to sell. They're looking to sell their content.
Dating weight.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. And we're going to talk about tonight's episode. That's tonight's episode was the twist of the knife for me, if we're looking forward to this. But let's just get into it and talk about the 3rd episode of the 2nd season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's an episode entitled Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. We're here to talk all about it. But first, a warning, we are setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners. So be warned, if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is Lon travels back in time to 21st century Earth to prevent an attack which will alter humanity's future history and bring her face to face with her own contentious legacy. The episode was written by David Reed and directed by Amanda Rowe, and the stardate for this episode is 1581.2. And a little bit of trivia before we get started. You may be aware that the title of the episode comes from Macbeth. It's a speech near the end of the play in Act 5 about how tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow time creeps in its petty pace from day to day. All our yesterdays. Another Star Trek title. This is by my count, and we did an episode about this on Enterprising Individuals a couple years ago. This is the 18th episode, I believe, of a Star Trek series, counting two-parters like Such Sweet Sorrow. That is a Shakespeare allusion. And of course, there's many other references to Shakespeare and Star Trek. And of course, the entirety of Star Trek 6 is just it's just all Star Trek all the way down. So that's interesting. I guess it applies to this. It also seems like a reference to Tomorrow is Yesterday, where the Enterprise goes back, the original series goes back to a time, when their show was being shot. So that might be like a kind of a reference there. What do you think about the connection between Shakespeare and Star Trek? Why does Shakespeare show up so much in Star Trek?
I mean, I think maybe it was perhaps a little ego stroking in the beginning, like, oh, we're just like
this is
him.
Just like the
this
greats,
just like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But I think it also maybe ties into like the whole like Star Trek's thing of like, oh, there's no TV here, but we have Mozart for you. Would that be good?
Yeah.
Would you like that?
Yeah. And it might have gone away if they hadn't cast a Royal Shakespeare Company actor as the captain of the next show. And then it's like, oh, okay, we're just in for a penny, in for a pound, which might be Shakespeare. I don't know. And I thought this was interesting. I saw this in Memory Alpha, but either it's a coincidence or it was intentional. But this episode is similar. The plot is similar to the Star Trek novel Killing Time from 1985, which features Romulans going back in time, trying to prevent the existence of the Federation. And it's not, they don't go back to, modern times. They go back to like at that time in the books, the early founding of the Federation, which is in like the late 21st century. But it also has like assassins, and the Enterprise meets a Vulcan ship commanded by Spock.
Crazy.
It is crazy, and seeing Dark Spock in this episode was crazy. What else? What'd you think about the episode? Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. The Tomorrow Brothers.
I liked it. I felt like I got and obviously I wasn't here last week, but I liked last week's too. The past two episodes I think have been much better than the first episode of the season.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about what you thought about last week, but you liked it.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Well, it's very, I love Measure of a Man. So it felt very much like that. And both of these felt like episodes that you could like sink your teeth into. Like it didn't feel like it felt like episodes that you would go back and watch just like because you feel like watching them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they're good like one-offs almost, which I love.
Yeah. Except you need to know
it's not quite
so much about Star Trek lore and TOS lore to really get a handle on both of them. But I think the character conflicts in each episode are very specific to the characters and the episodes, and that works. I hated this episode. And when I saw, 20 minutes in that we hadn't gotten anywhere yet, and it was an hour long, it's like the food is terrible and such large portions. I just felt like, oh my God, why are we doing this? And we're going to end up. And the second he's like, oh, Khan, I don't know who that is. And I'm like, okay, well, let's bring him out. Let's do Project Khan. Let's bring everybody's favorite part of Picard season 3, Project Khan. Show me the kid. Let's do it. Well, I'm glad it was a kid. And they're trying to do, and they made this point with dime store Kat Dennings. Like she made this point about how things are getting timey-wimey. And so Khan should have been in the 90s, but now he's now. But I thought for a second, maybe we were going to get like a Colonel Sanders, Ricardo Montalban or something like that. Like, I am Khan. And so thank God we only got the kid. But I, I really didn't like this episode. And it did nothing to bring me back. I just think that like when they do these episodes, and this was kind of my problem with last week. I thought last week was fairly well written, but we had just done all of that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, Measure of a Man and Trek's other trial episodes, and this is like another. Oh, they're going back in time. Oh, I'm going to sell these glasses. They'll be mine again. Let's make aluminum. And when you do things that Trek has already done, you immediately set yourself up to be compared to those things. And I guess for some fans, they're like, I remember that. I like Star Trek 4, so I like this. But for me, it's like, why are we going back here? What are we going to get out of this other than it's easy to steal clothes from the Gap? Like, I just wasn't really impressed by anything. I thought that the conspiracy didn't make any sense, and everything was very convenient. This lady, oh, I wonder if the lady who just is the only person with a speaking role who comes in and out of the story is going to be, behind it at the end. And then they see the picture of the thing, and James Kirk's like, yeah, now I remember. Yeah, the Romulans attacked Toronto, started the entire war that I've been fighting for 300 years. Like, why don't you know that that's what you're there to affect or change, And it wasn't even what he was really there to change. It was to not kill baby Hitler, right? And so the writing was just very piecemeal and lame, I thought. But interesting idea. What they've done here is they've set up essentially, do you kill baby Hitler or not, right? Like they go back in time, it's little baby Khan, and they kind of ask that question, should we or can we do this? Would this avoid suffering? Would this avoid things in the future? So, I mean, that's kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I the episode started and I was like, "Oh, good, a fun little bottle episode." It's time for we've all seen the picture of James
Yeah,
T.
we know
Kirk.
he's in it. Yeah.
I know he's in it. Show it. Come on. And
I,
so I wasn't very I didn't feel very I don't know, negative towards it. Although I do think it was very, very long. I was confused
yeah.
why it was so long.
I always wonder if maybe it was because they had more money. I wonder if they save money or they spend more money when they do like a modern day episode, because you'd think that they would save money because there's less goofy
That's
stuff.
what I figured. Yeah.
But location shooting's expensive. And when they are shooting on the ship, it's all sets, it's all contained. And when you have to go somewhere, then you gotta get hot dogs, you gotta get people out there.
Everyone get in the van.
So I think it's maybe a push, but let's move on to my next problem.
Sure.
I hate Paul Wesley as Kirk. We got a little look at him at the end of last season, and it's like, okay, interesting. They bring him back, and again, another alternate timeline Kirk. It's like they were afraid to piss off fans like me, and so they keep kind of dipping their toe in. We do see like actual Kirk, at the end of this episode on the FaceTime call, but like he's just, this entire episode is designed to make him seem fun and charming and personable, and it's just like, let's get a hot dog. Come on. He's just so flat. He just doesn't have a tenth of the charisma that William Shatner does.
I wonder if some of that is, I wonder what kind of direction he's getting,
Yeah. Or being afraid.
I wonder if he's getting direction to not put his own spin on the role, to not do this, to not do that.
I can see that. And Chris Pine talked a lot about how he was like, how do I do Kirk? I'm not going to do like William Shatner. I'm not going to do that. But he did like meet Shatner and talk to him and was like, okay, I think I've got this kind of groove that I'm in again. And I just don't see, I got to watch something else that this guy's in. I don't see his charisma at all. And I don't think that the kind of flat dialogue helps him, but it's supposed to be this thing where by the end, Lon, like this stone-faced character that we know, is just completely shattered, thinking about this guy being lost. And it's like a great setup for a moment, but I don't believe anybody would feel that way about losing this guy. Like,
You don't think you would have bonded with Kirk after
A couple
however
hot
many days of
dogs and
wandering around? Yeah, a couple of hot dogs wander. Come on,
played
get in a
played a
second hot
poutine
tub.
or two, up in
Watching them
Toronto,
play chess.
letting the popo chase us around, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Not if he acted like that the whole time. I didn't feel it so much, and I wish they would stop. I wish they had stopped making him a load bearing part of these stories. Do you know what I mean? I don't know
Mm.
how. Like when she suggested that maybe she could bring him back. I was watching the show with my girlfriend, and she's like, "No, come on,
Leave him.
no." Yeah. Although that might have been interesting having him and Sam Kirk. Here's another reason why this doesn't work. There are two people. They're exactly the same. He's like, well, we all know that Kirk is very straight laced, and he's very, he doesn't have fun. And same thing with Lon. So it's like they're the same thing. When you have Spock and Kirk, it's two different things. When you have Picard and Data, there are a two-hander. It's two different things. When you have Odo and Quark, it's like two different things, and they're like exactly the same. So I thought like maybe they could have let his characterization loosen up a little bit. They do have him going like, "Oh, I'll get some hot dogs," and there's a cool thing where it's kind of a reverse Yesterday's Enterprise for him, because in this case he's come from the crapsack world to a good world with hot dogs, and he's kind of like, "What if I just stay here? Like, I'm gonna just stay here." And Lon's like, "Oh, we got to do it in the future because like my timeline and all this." And so I kind of, but then they never really. He just jumps right in and he's ready to go. So
But after she tells him that his brother's alive in
yeah,
her
of course,
timeline.
everything's personal in this. Everything's personal. So an entire timeline's gonna be destroyed. Actually, his timeline, and presumably trillions of people will die. That's what none of these franchises ever think about when they do multiple alternate timelines. Like you're going to
Hmm.
kill trillions of people to bring trillions of
But
people
are
back.
but are they being killed or are they
Well,
just ceasing to
that's
exist?
that's true. I don't. They could fork off. Meanwhile, we cut back to the United Space Fleet Enterprise, and they're like, "Has anybody seen the captain? Like he's been gone for a long time."
We can't find Jim.
But it all has to be personal, and so he doesn't give a shit until she's like, "Your brother's alive." He's like, "I'm in." And then at the end of the episode, they set up this like, "Do you kill baby Hitler or not?" And Lon isn't thinking about all the people that won't die in the eugenics wars and how far that must have set back humanity till we get to the Q and the drug soldiers and everything like that. Like, think of everything that she could change. Like, she's a character who's like pretty resolute. Like, she makes decisions and she's willing to sacrifice herself as well. But instead, it all becomes about her. And it becomes about her not able to face her legacy. And like, that's some millennial Star Trek. I just don't know. You know what? Here's my pitch. Reboot Star Trek. Don't do the fake side thing with the J.J. Abrams movies. Reboot the entire thing. Because I've said this before. I think it's possible that Star Trek's big problem comes from the fact that it was made by World War II veterans who didn't know any black people but thought, yeah, they should probably have their own water fountains. And it's like, and then it goes into the 80s and it goes to the 2000s where things really kind of start to open up, but the network won't let them, and it tries to be as progressive as possible. It's like having a hip dad. Oh wow, he voted for Hillary Clinton, and now it's trying to be more, and it's stuck with this old past. And I say, get rid of it. Just make a whole new thing. Do it. Battlestar Galactica did it. Battlestar Galactica went, you know what? Keep the Mormonism. That's fine. We're going to take the alien stuff and we're going to tell a parable about, overreach of government, in the early 21st century. And so just do that with Star Trek. Just go ahead. They did it in the books, right? They took everything in the books and went, yay, big party. We're all done. Here are the new books. Go for it. I won't care. I've got my old Star Trek. It's fine. Just make a new Star Trek. What do you think about my... I thought we were doing that with Prodigy, but that's dead now. What do you think about my pitch?
Um, your pitch is to cancel all the shows, start a new show.
Yes, and you can have a all new Kirk and Spock if you want to. I would say it's a little unoriginal. But I understand that they represent a monetary investment by the IP holder, and so I understand if you're gonna, Starbucks a girl, whatever, you're gonna reboot these characters, fine. But like, do it with a new sensibility. Do it in the way that you know. We always have that debate whether they're explorers or military. Get rid of the military stuff, make them explorers, get rid of all the boomer nonsense that is still part of the DNA of Star Trek. That's what I'm offering. We can be free of that. Who's with me? Who's with me?
So which part is the which part is the boomer nonsense
The fact that
in the
everybody,
new shows?
the fact that they're all on a battleship from World War II. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that it's all Vietnam metaphors and the fact that it's all about the Holocaust
Uh-huh.
and stuff like this. Like it is now our stories, the Discovery stories and Lower Deck stories, like they aren't that so much, but they're still, we have the trappings of that still. And I'm suggesting that
Mm-hmm.
we completely reinvent it. Star Trek, I think, had a chance to do that with Discovery, them going to the 32nd century. They could have been flying around in bubbles. They could have done whatever they wanted to. And basically, after 1,000 years, what they did was, Commander, I'm going to go do this, and we are Starfleet, and we've got to do that. And it's just like, let's push this thing forward. Let's move forward with this. I don't know. I'll get a
I
pitch.
do
I'll get a
think they
pitch
could be.
document to you if that's what you want.
Oh, thank you,
I
thank
don't
you.
have it with me right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Um, I do think that the new Star Trek shows, I think they could stand to be a little bit more daring or bold with the content, given that if you compare it to something like the original series, which had, the first interracial kiss on television, like
Well, yeah.
they're not doing quite as much as Star Trek did, but
Right, but like they existed in a world where that's all you had to do.
mm-hmm.
So William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, everybody else, there's one black person. I'm sure she makes 50% of what everybody else makes, if not less. And so they can have something like that. And it's amazing that they're progressive. But like the stakes are both higher and lower. Stakes is the wrong metaphor. The environment's completely different. And so you just expect that. Like you expect to have equality, and yet we're still doing these stories that are like, oh, this is kind of like, this thing that happened in 1950 or something like that. On my show Backtracking, we talk about what inspired the episodes of Star Trek, and it's like all these like old events, all these things that have even with the newer Star Trek shows, it's all has this mindset, and that mindset was locked in by
Mm-hmm.
having Gene Roddenberry come back and reboot his own show, but also by people like Maury Hurley, people like Rick Berman, who said, we're not changing it. Star Trek is Star Trek. It's the way it is. We're going to do Enterprise, and we're going to go even farther back into like white guy, space, Navy land. And like they've come back now, and you see a lot more diversity. You see the faces on the screen, but the stories and the storytelling are like the exact same thing. And 50% of the stories are them trying to reference or like go, huh? To this old ass thing. Let Grandpa, let him go to the home. That's what I say. Anyway, that's my idea, but it doesn't matter. Um, what else? I got a couple minutes left here. Anything else that you want to say about the episode? What do you think about the? Uh, we bring Khan back again. Do you think that Khan will be a presence? Are we setting Khan up for a season finale, or will he come back in another season?
That's interesting. I always thought that eventually we would, just because of La'an's like presence.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wonder if this is all they'll do.
Yeah, I wonder. Because we all like when we heard there was a character Lon Noonien Singh. I think we always knew that we'd come to a point like this. I didn't think that she
Mm-hmm.
would time travel and then like say nice crayon drawing kid, like if she would like meet him. But um, so I wonder how this will affect her going forward.
Yeah.
Is it just the name then? Like, do you think that she has con superpowers? Can she lift a standard Chekhov up in the air?
I'm. How many generations?
Is it like weeded out by now?
Maybe a little bit. I don't think. I don't think all because she's strong.
Yeah.
She's weirdly strong, right? We've seen her.
We've seen her like bend steel bars or anything like that, I don't think. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's, she can hold her own.
Hmm.
Um, will we will we time travel back to when augments were in the metal band and they had like the the Slash t-shirts and stuff like that? That's what I want to know. How are we going to get Brent Spiner on this thing? That's what I want to know.
Now you're asking the real questions.
Let Grandpa go to the home. That's what I'm saying. I think that is about it for this abbreviated show. But yeah, don't do, kind of crappy Doctor Who episodes, Star Trek. Do Star Trek episodes. That's kind of my advice for the show. Because I've seen Doctor Who do this too. Like, oh, how do we get clothes? Oh, this hot dog. Oh, so good. It was an hour of that. That's what we watched.
I mean, it was a bottle episode though. Don't I think they probably do save money just shooting, driving the 2 miles and shooting in downtown Toronto or whatever.
They're in Vancouver, right? So they're just dressed Vancouver for Toronto.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because it's on the West Coast. Yeah, well, all right. But anyway, there'll be another episode tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. But that's it for today and our show this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when new episodes of our show come out. And you can tweet to us on the show using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at EISTPOD@gmail.com. In the chat, Mika Hana says, don't blame millennials. I'm not blaming millennials. I'm just saying that young people might think a different way than a guy who was getting shelled in World War II. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying, in fact, it probably is better than a guy with shell shock than Peepaw. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm saying it's different. While you're on the internet, head to our listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed and give us a rating and a review if you would. It really does help us out. And if you like the show, tell a friend, post about it on social media, share our posts. Discoverage will return next week, July 6th, for the 4th episode of Strange New World 2nd season. It's an episode entitled Among the Lotus Eaters, another classical reference to antiquity. That's all we really know about the episode, but we'll be here next Thursday to cover it and going live once again at 8 p.m. Central. In the meantime, check out our other Star Trek podcasts, Enterprising Individuals, Backtrekking. You can find those at EISTPOD and at Backtrekking, respectively, on Twitter. And that's it for tonight. Ella, thanks for joining me to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds and remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. I am Gondor Gold on all social media, and I'll be at Shore Leave outside of Baltimore in a couple of weeks here.
All right. Yeah. So go check her out on Twitter and say hi if you're at Shore Leave. And I'm at KA1IBAN on Twitter. And of course, we're right here at twitch.tv/JustinofTrope. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, hit the heart icon, and stick with us here. And that's it for us for this week. Thanks for listening, and we're signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.